Where do you get your morality from?
From myself, from my thinking.
Okay. So when you say, do you consider
Where do I get mine?
someone taking cocaine and having
Obviously, some people say,
Sorry,
look at what other people are doing, that's why I get my morality from other people. But if we're looking for the best morality, this would be an objective morality. Do you see what I mean? It's not going to be from anyone. Just
Why is
human beings are imperfect.
Why is lying not okay?
You see what I mean? So you're going to have to learn it. It's going to have to be from someone.
I'm not
So what?
Morality
So what?
is instinct.
So my morality comes
Some people don't have it.
Why does it have to be the truth? Someone considers a belief system where lying is okay.
You need the right
Why do you have a problem with that morality?
in which society,
Any
in which
society.
religion,
But you can't
lying
get
is
it from a
okay,
book.
or in which
Shall I tell you?
You can get it.
In a godless
From a
society, people, when they can get away with it, they would lie.
Then we believe that the creator
The creator who killed
I know that for sure.
millions and, you know,
Shall I tell you my
there's
hospital
no
experience? You know that
evidence for it.
Sometimes when you go there, your manager tells you,
what
tell
evidence
them
would
I'm
be
not here.
sufficient to someone who doesn't want to believe it,
So
wants
that's
to do
about
whatever he
value.
can to
Personal
That's
That's
value.
not value.
away from
Here, right here to you and me to and everyone else in the world.
The whole
say that
point
you
is
can.
that
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm questioning your whole foundation. Whole foundation. Of course, people who are religious or irreligious, they
I
lie.
don't value religion. That's
I'm-
exactly
I'm-
why I don't value religion, because you
I'm
can
saying-
have your religious values and thinking
How would you know
and do
that?
otherwise.
I'm saying
No matter how strong you believe in that, you're going to go all against it. And then sometimes it puts you at ease going home at night and ask God for forgiveness because you even feel better. Doing the wrong things, there's still someone up there that will forgive you even though you harmed someone else.
I want to question the basis of
But
morality.
me not believing anyone, if I lie, if I harm someone, I know there is no one to forgive me.
I want to
that
question the
bothers me the
very
most.
basis of morality. Suppose someone, individual, if morality comes from individual self, someone says they want to sleep with their own mother or their sister. Would you have a problem with this kind of morality? And they will say, I'm not going to harm anyone because we will take adequate precautions of contraception. Would you be okay with that kind of morality? Because morality comes from your own self. Morality came from that individual's own self. So it's a way the difference. The lady was saying it came from her own self. So would you have a problem with someone's morality coming from their own self, wanting to have incestual relationship with adequate
If they're
precautions?
pressing someone to sleep with them without their consent,
No, consensual.
consensual, that's not my business.
So you're okay with that
That
morality?
is not my business.
So you're okay with that morality, right?
That is not even my business.
So I'm
I don't
asking you,
decide what they do.
because you are questioning the morality of
So you
Islam and
want
religion.
to force people in their private
No.
lives
Sorry.
what to do?
Remember what we were discussing. You have an issue with Islamic system of clothing, for example, basing on their morality and how someone should be covered or not, their ethics and morality. So since you're not objected, you're already discussing, critiquing others' morality. So now you have now been given another person's morality of incestual relationship by consent, mutual consent. You cannot just simply say it's their business. You can have an opinion too, like you did with Islam. So is it okay then in your morality?
I don't think that's a good example.
I'm giving you that example.
Comparing people.
But I
that
think personally it's a good
suppress-
example. So can you deal with that example? Is that okay then?
Suppressing women in a religion.
Is that okay?
Comparing that to two people consensually having sex.
So are you okay with that? Is that a good thing? Is that morally okay?
Are they harming other
No.
people?
No.
Are they harming
According to them, they're not harming
society
anyone.
around them?
According to them, they're not harming anyone.
Do I know what you do at your house?
Excuse me.
In your private life?
I'm
Do
simply
I
asking
know?
you-
Do I know that? When I
Individuals who
don't
want to
know
have...
that, how can I tell you what
Sorry,
to do?
I'm asking
Unless
you.
I raid your house and want to investigate what you do.
You're not
every night
focusing
at
on the
your
example.
house.
I'm
So
talking
how
about...
how can I even comment on something that I don't know?
Sure, I'll tell you. I'm giving you an example of individuals who wants to have incestuous relationship without causing any harm in their understanding.
In their
They are
private
not.
lives.
They are not going to produce children out of this relationship. They will take adequate precautions and they're mutually consenting for that act. Is this
And they're
morally
not
okay?
advertising for that. They're not forcing anyone doing that.
Question is morally okay.
Is this morally okay?
That is
Doing good.
What if
Is
it's morally okay?
Is it morally okay is the question?
as a human being, is it more
the two people. It is okay.
Is this morally okay?
It is morally okay. They are not harming anyone in society. Nobody knows about it. They are not advertising anything.
Okay. So now we've
They are
established a
doing
principle.
it between them. There's a contract
So
between
now,
them.
how would you feel if your brother wanted to do that with your mother with a mutual consent? You'd be okay morally as well, right?
If I know about it, that would not be morally okay.
Why not?
Because that will harm me.
How is it harming you?
Knowing
Two consenting individuals.
knowing
How is
people are
that? Now, how is it
related to
harming
me,
you? How is it harming you?
It's not morally okay because they are harming me.
So how is it harming you? How is it harming you? How is it harming you?
It's your cousin, your sister.
Because it affects my
Say it.
sanity.
It affects your sanity.
Yeah.
If something affects my sanity,
You have
can
to
I?
be responsible
Sorry,
toward the
I want to
people
establish
around you,
principles
right?
now. As you are deriving them, as you are making your principles, you've established a principle where, if I consider some action is going to affect my sanity, I can consider it to be morally not okay. If I see things like this and I consider it to be morally affecting my sanity, so I am okay to say it's morally not okay, right?
Another person, yeah. If it affects another person in a bad way,
Yeah.
it's
So
not
if it
a
affects
moral
like
thing.
if all the people are affected by people, for example, not dressed appropriately or doing things like homosexual act, adulterous relationship, or bestiality, or things like that, or even homosexual practices which are now normalized in the society. We can.
So
You would
are you
agree?
against homosexuals?
No. Remember what I'm saying. Don't bring this.
It was
Homophobia card.
If you
Sorry.
and I were here 50 years ago,
I am saying-
you
I am
were
saying-
probably not okay with
No,
that
I am
either.
saying
So by
if
time
remember,
people get to
sorry.
stuff,
Do not bring the homophobia card in here because no one is
It's
saying
serious.
we are homophobic. We are saying
because 50 years ago,
No,
you would
let
have
me-
you would have easily told me
Let me
that
finish
you're
my example.
against it.
No, let me finish
But
my
now,
example.
with majority of people agreeing with you don't even dare tell me
do you
that you're against it.
look at do you consider in a society which infringes your freedom of expression of your belief, when they're going to take you to court for that by this infringement, that I want to have my personal security at risk by talking about all these things? Would you go to Sweden or France or Germany and say, I deny the Holocaust? Because you will be penalized for that, even though that could be your personal belief. Now you realize, my sister, in humanity, our personal freedom is not something that we express even though we believe in it. Our expression
Because
has been restricted.
Holocaust has been also framed by a religious.
No, I'm saying whatever. I'm not
It is
accepting or
because
denying or saying,
Holocaust
look.
doesn't only happen
I'm only
to
making a
Jewish
point.
people.
No, I'm only making a point
It
where
happened to Polish people. It
society.
doesn't necessarily happen.
My point is
but
this.
the
Please try to
religious-
understand my point.
That's why the religious bodies behind those things, they arrest
Doesn't
you
matter who's done
because
that.
you disclaim Holocaust.
My point
That's
is
about
simple.
religion.
My point is simple.
Unfortunately, religion has so much of power.
Regardless it's religion or non-religious bodies who impose on this, my point is very simple. Our personal freedom of expression of our belief have been restricted by law, where we can be penalized by expressing our own belief system. You will have to say, I accept it. You have no choice. You cannot go, like the example countries I mentioned, I say, it's my personal freedom. I deny the Holocaust. I personally don't think it happened. But you won't say that because you know your freedom, you have no freedom here at all. Likewise, you cannot go to work, especially in our hospitals in UK, naked. Your freedom has already been restricted by your contract. There's a dress policy, a code of conduct. You are already under the restrictions of the societal authorities, whether religious or otherwise. So
I
you
will
cannot.
have a problem
So
if
the
your hospital goes toward where their law becomes women have to come to work
Now,
with a hijab.
wait. Let's talk about now hijab first.
And that's
No,
dangerous.
let's go back. So the issue is that you don't have a problem with society restricting what you wear and how much you wear. You have a problem with why we wear too much, like in our head.
Extreme.
No,
Let's
you
talk
consider to be
about
extreme.
extreme ways.
No, you consider that to be extreme, right? Now, what if I
And
consider?
why would you do that?
Please, if you consider that to be extreme, is it possible someone may consider that's not extreme, right? Yeah? Would you not have people, like if I were to bring a Muslim woman wearing hijab, she might say, look, I am as educated you are, in a Western context, and on my personal freedom, I have worn this. I don't even have a dad, he's dead. I don't have a brother. I'm about to get married, but I decide to wear the hijab. So you can't say she's been forced by anyone. And if she says, for example, I don't consider it to be extreme. So you cannot then put your understanding of what extreme is on another woman if she considers that not to be extreme. So the issue now is, okay, in terms of what men or women should wear, there seems to be a restriction placed in society, every society. Your issue is putting too much clothing is a problem. Do you have a problem if it's too less?
I may have a problem.
Right, does it matter?
It doesn't. My personal belief doesn't matter.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
if you
that's
don't,
my own.
you've settled the issue. If you think it doesn't matter, then if a woman wants to wear hijab fully, even with the face veil, it shouldn't matter to you. If a woman wants to dress fully naked, it shouldn't matter to you.
No, it doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter.
Then you're
my
questioning.
question from the beginning was that why Islam would discriminate.
Okay, now when you say it's discriminating, then I will question that. I will say it is not a discrimination.
Why would you say it's
for the
Because if she
following
goes to Iran, she has to wear a hijab.
Well,
Every
a
woman in here, if you go to Iran, a Muslim country, you're forced to wear a
have you
hijab.
spoken to the women?
That's what Islam does in power.
No, but have you spoken
That's
to the women and asked
repression.
them?
Yes, we come from here.
Okay, brother, let's continue. So basically, come on, respect the woman. Respect the woman. Respect the woman. Don't oppress the woman.
Okay,
Right,
there
so-
are many things you cannot with having hijab on.
No, what I'm saying is,
With having hijab
No,
on,
can I say
you
something?
cannot, with having
Can I-
this full
can I
veil
just
on,
make-
you cannot ride a
can I just make an
bicycle.
issue? Can I just-
I actually didn't see a woman with the veil and all full
Can I make
hijab
just one
on a
point?
bicycle. It's limiting. It is limiting.
now a dress code.
So how can you do everything you want but your wife can't do because they have a hijab on? Just think about
When
it.
we are discussing about dress code, we need to understand the purpose of dress in the first place. Do you agree?
No, because hijab
I
is
mean,
not-
have you
Sorry.
Have you seen
Do you not agree?
Have you seen a soccer film?
Sorry.
with women players,
You're going
soccer
to-
players running with their veils on.
Brother.
but
My
they're
sister.
late.
My
It's
sister.
limiting.
Please. Do you not understand? I'm sure you do. When we talk about dress code, whether in a space agency where you have to dress, how do you dress in a? Wait,
As long as you're comfortable.
sorry, 1 second. When you go into an aseptic environment, grade A, you know what grade A environment is?
What is it?
Okay. For example, if you're going in a lab where you don't want any.
Personal protective.
No. I'll explain. An environment where we want to make it as sterile as possible. So pyrogen free from particles, whether they're from bacteria, viruses, fungus, and so on. So for example, in a lab we make total parenteral nutrition, we make chemotherapy, things like this. We go inside fully gowned. Sometimes they go down in such that only the eyes are visible. Now,
What does it have to do with hijab?
excuse me, sorry. So this is also a dress code. Do you agree?
Yes, there's a reason behind it.
Wait. So if there's a reason behind the dress code, in principle you'd be okay with that.
Yes.
Fine.
What
So
is
we're
the
getting
reason behind it?
Wait, slowly. So we're now getting somewhere. A dress code to be acceptable in any context, there has to be justifiable reason for it. You see, we've come to a point where we're agreeing on a lot of things.
Yes.
You and I agree on a lot of things.
Yes.
Whatever dress code that is, there has to be a justifiable reason.
Yes.
Islam justifies the dress code where it says when you go in public you have to dress modestly. So the question about modesty comes in. You can ask and we can discuss what defines modesty. What level of clothing defines modesty?
So,
For example,
veil is above
please,
Quran.
I want to.
I know Quran.
No. I want to give you an example.
Many verses
No,
by my
please,
heart.
please.
So,
Can you let me finish this one point and then we can continue? I want to demonstrate it's not just clothing. Imagine now someone wears full clothing, skin tight and see-through. That's clothing. Now, exactly, imagine Islamic hijab. Exactly. But it's all see-through. Now, the amount of clothing is the same. Do you think...
it is see-through. How is it the same?
Wait. The material is just see-through, that's the difference. But this clothing is from head to toe, for example.
Right.
Now, do you think Islam would consider it okay? Same level of clothing?
Islam would not consider it okay.
Right. So now you have a level of clothing is the same. It's not whether it's transparent or not. Do you see the... When we get here, how much clothing you put on yourself is not the extent of clothing from head to toe. That means it's linked with something else.
What is the reason behind it? What do you think is necessary?
I told you already, Islam wants women and men, don't forget men, to dress modestly in public. What they do in their private homes, whether they walk naked or not, that's not what affairs to Islam. Okay? What you do in public, because it's going to affect you and me, affect the society, affect my kids, affect my teenager son.
So
Right?
am I
It will.
affecting the society with not
I'm not talking about
having
you.
people?
Sorry. Do not bring any personal issues in. I am
However,
saying...
you are thinking as a person with someone in your family with hijab on, you're thinking about rest of the society without hijab or affecting the society, right? They're
What I'm
affecting
saying-
people around them.
Any piece of clothing, depending on how you wear it will affect your level of modesty. Even if you wear the burqa, the khimar, the jilbab, more than even the normal jilbab khimar, but it's all see-through. Imagine it's made by polythene, see-through. It is not going to be acceptable. Even the level, even though the level, the extent of clothing from head to toe is the same. So what is importantly highlighted here is what makes modest clothing. So Islam considers and it defines the level of modesty. It says whatever is apparent, for example, they can display whatever comes out apparent. So in an Islamic society, in a public appearance of a woman,
Islam is forcing women
not forcing.
to cover.
Excuse me. I take offense with this word Islamic forcing. When you talked about your hospital, or in Germany or anywhere, you don't use the word forcing. Be consistent. If you're going to use, my hospital forced me to work wearing clothes,
So if
you don't say that. You don't say that.
Okay, so you are a proper
in fact,
Muslim.
England is brother. England is forcing you to wear clothes in Speaker's Corner. How would you feel if I use this word? England is forcing you to wear clothes. You will say, what do you mean forcing? It's my choice I wear. You see, you will take, say, look, I don't accept that. I'm not being forced. I'm in England, but I'm not being forced. So when we talk about dress code, Islam considers a level of modesty with certain clothing. So for a man, it has a level of clothing. Women, it has a level of clothing. And it says for both of them, lower your gaze. Lower your gaze. So
it did not consider the woman being comfortable in it or not. It just thought about society. So the woman in the height of the summer, which is 145 degrees Celsius, has to wearing it. And
so would
then
you come here
chosen
if it's 45
they're
degrees?
not comfortable in it.
So if it's 45 degree here, would you come here naked? Same question applies. You would not be able to because the society has already restricted your freedom.
Nobody promoting nakedness.
So
Do you see that?
Nobody promoting
What
nakedness.
happens? What happens when people go to the beaches, sea beaches? They take off their clothes, don't they?
Do
Mostly.
you know
Isn't that right?
religion promoting nakedness?
Excuse me. I'm not talking about your religion. I don't know where you're coming from. You need to
You just
understand
said
what
they're
discussion.
naked.
So as you realize, doesn't matter how much clothing you put, you have to accept. We are forced by society wherever we are
No,
to a
if
certain
you-
degree
Tomorrow,
of restriction of
come
what we
here,
wear.
come
Your
here, have the
alternative
full clothes
is weight
on,
naked.
and then you'll understand
Sorry?
what a woman goes through wearing full hijab on. Tomorrow, come
I'm
here,
sure-
put the burqa on. If all Muslim women do that, maybe it will change their understanding
Let me-
of what I'm talking about.
Okay, let me tell you why I
And
don't
then
find
when
that.
when I speak with women with hijab, they say it's their choice, which I don't believe that.
Now,
they can't. They can't.
I want to make a comparison likewise. No.
Your choice. Okay.
Sorry. I want to make like a comparison. One is very warm. Why even men are not going like in a scantily clothes at work? Some clothes. Why aren't men having a bikini at work when it's very hot? Why aren't they allowed?
The alternative is not
Man's
bikini.
bikini. Man's
The
bikini.
alternative.
Oh, okay. What? Not bikini. What is it called? An underpants,
The
right?
alternative to burqa is not bikini.
Excuse me.
Will you
You've come
be
to the wrong discussion.
comfortable in it?
I have a problem with
Will
that.
you
Because
be-
you don't have
will you be
answers.
comfortable in
Sorry,
it?
sorry.
Will you be comfortable in
It's
it?
not about comfortableness. Look, if
It
you're
is.
feeling okay,
If
excuse
you're
me.
not feeling
Sorry,
comfortable
sorry.
in your clothes, there's a problem about it.
Do women feel comfortable in their high heels?
No.
So why would they wear loafers, for example?
Do you see the problem?
Question two.
Do you see the problem? It's not about comfort.
But
Now,
it's not a cult. There is not
Sorry.
There is not a
Now-
high heels
now-
religion.
now-
If you want to belong
now-
in it, you are gonna have
look,
high
look,
heels
look.
on.
Now you have established one thing very interesting. Woman can wear things on herself even though it's not comfortable, like high heels. And you would have no problem with that.
Because of that women can become. So you
Sorry,
decide
sorry.
for them.
Let me ask you
as
this
a
question.
religious
Do you have
authority.
a problem with women wearing high heels? Even though it's uncomfortable?
I should not. Do I have a problem with women wearing hijab?
No.
No. I don't have any problem with that.
So why are
My
you
question
questioning all
is
this
why?
stuff?
Yeah. Why Islam?
Okay.
It's
Islam.
putting
Okay.
women
So let's come
in
back.
a certain-
Okay. So Islam says the beauty of woman is such that she
It
is.
is for the Islam to decide.
It's not for Islam to decide, it's for God.
And
If God decides, sorry.
the man-made God.
Sorry. If God decides that I should eat only things which are pure, and you say Islam, man decided that, I might find that it makes sense to me that it is actually God. In fact, I may be fully convinced that God has decided this only in the Quran, and I am convinced of that. That is why all of this discussion needs to, as we started, as you realize, needs to go back to the very core foundation. Does God exist? Has He communicated with us? Has He given us laws and regulations for our lives? If He has, and we know it's there in the Quran, I happily accept it.
Back then it was necessary for the societies to have some sort of religion to take people and frame them and give them a structure. And of course Islam back then was very
Every society needs
important.
structure.
It helped people to find their ways in a society where there was no
Why were you
no
picking on
laws
religion?
or anything.
Why are you
But
picking on religion?
Now we have the structure. We have
What structure? Every structure,
the
every
laws,
civilized
the rules
country
of the
needs.
society. If a society is
So,
functioning well without any women having hijab,
Which society is
if
functioning
it's
well?
functioning
Which society
pretty
is functioning
well
well?
without
Can
any
I ask
women
a question?
having
Which
hijab
society
in
is
that-
functioning well without?
women having hijab in
Yeah,
it,
which society is functioning well?
then that would be a total normal society.
Would you like to tell us which society today is functioning well when women are given the liberty to dress the way they want? Which society is functioning well? Because then I will ask you.
Yeah, they do function well.
Okay, say in Britain, how are the society in Britain?
Britain would have been fine without women with hijab walking.
Sorry.
in it.
Let's
Would
forget.
fine.
Let's forget.
No problem.
Please, let's forget the
Or
hijabis.
the same problems.
Please.
If there are problems,
Excuse me.
times, it hasn't
Let's-
gone down because women walk in that
I
or
want
some
to
women walking
really
in it
discuss
with
this.
hijab.
Let's forget the hijabis. So we have Britain when women can wear whatever they want, right? Now, has this made women in their society better than before? More progress than before? More happier than before? Because I want to ask you, what is the measure of their happiness and betterment by choosing a particular dress code? And how is it better than before? So please discuss. How do you think women with their own personal liberty of dress code is more better, and you have to define how better is better compared to before? Because I see women have been used as a merchandise. Women have been abused, exploited by using their dress codes.
What is the alternative?
You're a woman.